Hi everyone. As you read today, Women in Aviation by Patricia and Frederick McKissick, you're going to come across some words you don't know. I'd like you to try to use the context clues that we've been talking about. If you didn't already watch the video on that, go back and look through the video on that and try to define some of these words. I'm going to do the first couple with you now. Notice I split my screen so that I can have my organizer next to the text just to make this easier for me, right? So I know in line 1 I'm going to look for the word marred, right? American aviation was from its very beginnings marred with sexist and racist assumptions. So I'm looking at this first sentence here, right? And I'm looking at this word marred. Now, it doesn't come right out and tell me what marred means in the sentence. I don't see a synonym or an antonym, but I can kind of figure it out, right? So sexist and racist and assumptions are all really negative. And it's happened since the beginning and it isn't good. So it sounds like it's something that negatively marks something, right? So thinking that it might mean damaged. So I could try to put the word damaged in instead of marred and see if it makes sense. American aviation was from its very beginnings damaged with sexist and racist assumptions. That makes sense. So I'm going to come right over here and I'm going to type damaged. And if this word comes up again, I have an idea of what it means. It was taken for granted that women were generally inferior to men and that white men were superior to all others. Flying, it was said, required a level of skills and courage that women and blacks lacked. Yet despite these prevailing prejudices, the dream and the desire to fly stayed alive among women and African Americans. Prevailing. I know what a prejudice is, right? When someone feels negative, so it's a prevailing. So it said, if I look back a sentence, that everyone thought that the whites and the women, all the whites thought that the women and the blacks lacked something, didn't have it. Everybody thought it. That's like a synonym, right? So prevailing would mean an overall feeling that everyone has, right? And would that make sense? There was an overall prejudice. That does make sense, right? You can use overall or widespread. There was a widespread prejudice. So we'll type in widespread. Now, if I keep going and I can't figure out what the word means from the sentence, then I can go on Google and look up the word and put in the best definition that matches. I'd like you to continue this as you read. It's your choice if you want to do it as you read or you want to go to each of those sentences, find them, and fill them in. But make sure that you're figuring out words and not just skipping them as you go. Now, figuring out words isn't the only thing you're going to do. If you go down, there's a second organizer that has to do with author's purpose. Right? The author's purpose is to persuade, inform, or entertain. Can also be, we can add the other E, but for now we'll stick with those three. So for each set of lines from the article, you're going to identify the author's purpose for that section. Cite text evidence by giving a quote or paraphrase. Sometimes it might be more than one purpose. So that first paragraph, right, telling us when it started, how it started, it's giving us a lot of information. If it's giving us information, the purpose is to inform. So we're going to write inform, and then we're going to say what it's informing about. So it informs about the prejudice in early aviation, right? That's what the whole paragraph's about. So as you read the lines over here, this paragraph that's motioned by the lines, you're going to say, what's the purpose based on pi? And give the evidence. Now our third organizer is 2 column notes on important people. We've been practicing taking 2 column notes. There's 2 women that you may not have heard of, but they're pretty important in history and the main focus of this article. So I want you to jot down details about them. So there's Harriet Quimby and Bessie Coleman. You don't need direct sentences, direct quotes, complete sentences. What you need to do is pull out information. There's a lot more said about Bessie Coleman than there is about Harriet Quimby, so I'd like you to have at least 3 notes for Harriet Quimby and 6 for Bessie Coleman. So they don't start talking about Harriet Quimby till line 24. I just want to bring you there so you can see it. So, although Raymond de la Roche of France was the first woman in the world to earn her pilot's license, Harriet Quimby held the distinction of being the first American woman to become a licensed pilot. That's an interesting piece of information. She's the first American licensed pilot. I shortened it, put it in my own words. I pulled out a piece of information about Harriet Quimby. So you can take this one, and then as you read, I want you to have 2 more pieces of information about her and 6 pieces of information about Bessie Coleman. All right, so you'll be filling in those 3 organizers. When you're all done, you're going to use your races that we've talked about before to answer the question, what do you think the author's main purpose is? So to help you with that, you're going to go back up here. Once you have it all filled out, see which one you wrote down the most. That'll be the main purpose. And then you can use what you wrote on the side as to help you with your evidence and your explanation. So you're working towards all of this as you read the text. Remember, you can hit this audio button in your book.
Though she did not fly, Catherine Wright was a major supporter of her brother's.
You can have it read to you. Work hard, try your best, and let us know if you need help. I can't wait to see what you find out about women in aviation and the groundbreaking changes that they made.